And then Guy, the grape stomper, Zambia. Right? You know who he is, don't you? Uh-huh. And then Ruth. Ruth, come on now. And don't forget the lady standing right to our left here.
Who's Norma?
Norma? And that's Norma.
Jim, you've met Norma.
Yeah, I met her a while ago. Yeah, I met her. And now coming in is Steve Burrows, Banterra Bank. Okay, and that's enough for now.
Good to see you, Guy. How are you?
I remember the bands out of the stiff.
Well, we tried to, we had the woman who has the fish.
How many more do you think you got?
Pretty good. You, sir? I did. A great Saturday, or Sunday actually, after festival. They put us in the hurry back of that sucker and set over for about 4.5 hours. Too big a hurry. Good job.
But we think that the hybrids makes real nice wine. Most people have never heard of them.
For the ones that turn in Missouri.
Uh-huh.
It was real interesting. They had one. I don't know if this is great or is that a type of thing?
Yeah, it's a hybrid.
That was good.
That's a very nice. That's one grape we didn't plant. And if I wanted to plant more, I'd probably put say Blanc in.
Would that grow in this
Sure.
area?
Yeah. That would do as well as these others.
What kind of growing, in my opinion, it was kind of a weird summer and all. What kind of growing here was it for you guys?
We love the drought. After about May, if it didn't rain again, we'd be very happy. Actually, the fruit was very high quality. We were very happy. Now, with these grapes, though, that are hanging, we're trying to get this Vidal Blanc out here. We make our shiny gold, which is a sweet wine with these grapes. We'd like to see a little more sun now in the hot temperatures again, because the sugars just are not coming up quite as fast as we'd like to see them. Now early on we had all that rain, so we had some problems with disease in June and July. We had to cut out a lot of
Well, I'll keep pushing that point.
Hey, Paul, what do we use for black
Because he
rock
does get
dealing?
from the fish bank.
Nova and diathane?
And then I'll ask for a cut of prison.
I wish we could go for farther.
I know, how-
little expensive, but
Everything to do is canopy control is real important. You see, some of our canopies a little heavier, but you always try to expose the roof. We got a wire down there. That's one of the things. But we found out that going up this high wire system gives you better exposure and less disease problems because you have more air, you have more sun penetration. What fungus and molds and others like, of course, is damp, dark areas. So these canopies, some get very, very big, cover that fruit and we have no disease problem. This year was fine except for that early rain and that extended rain. Yeah, we're trying to get, if you look at something like this, you see that browning? That's not necessarily a bad thing. Something like this, that actually is very high sugar and very sweet. And for the, you ever heard of a late harvest or an ice wine or something like that where you get real concentrated sugar? We can't actually do that, but we can get close. The sugar is higher that way. But again, I'm worried that we get this kind of sun and we probably will harvest these in another week or two. Harvesting that spring.
Why do you think vineyards are not ever, there aren't any more around? Why is that? That this ground is more better farming agriculture?
Well, I think that prohibition shut down a lot of this through all over the country, and it wasn't until not that many years ago in California started to grow in the wine and grape industry. Illinois has a long history of growing grapes, but after prohibition, certain areas just haven't started. Now we have some factors in the conservatives here in Illinois was just reduce their laws, relax their laws, allow for commercial production and sale of more than 2 Yeah, that was a local problem, but even the state, not until that's when Guy put in the vineyard, when they changed the law to allow you to make more than 20 gallons of wine. So Illinois has been behind Missouri, Tennessee, Indiana, all the states, but they're starting to kind of put a little effort into developing these No. I think the problem with vineyard grape growing is that it's very difficult to cut down on your labor. You can buy mechanical harvesters for $70,000, unless you can't do that. So there's a lot of handling. Startup costs. No, we haven't yet.
How many people do you have?
Well, we have, I'm actually the only full-time person. I have 3 might hire 4 to 5 people during the harvest time. We're just starting to hire on people, clerical in office and retail. So we're probably about 3 full-time, if you add all together.
Harvest it all at one time?
Well, there's a period of about 5 weeks where we get all the harvesting done. Nice thing about having different varieties, will come in at different times. And then we can also store our grapes at Rendleman Orchard. They store them for us. We lease space there, which gives us a lot of flexibility because they'll stay there for a couple of weeks with no deterioration, and it's good for the fruit and the wine to have those grapes cool down to about 35, 40 degrees. So that helps us a lot.
They have a cool area.
Yeah, it's a huge pool release from them. So there's about a 5 to 6 week period, in the beginning of harvest and the end of harvest and the end of crushing grapes. 10 acres. We'll get between 30 to 35 pounds. Sterilized with a lot of chlorine and do a citric rinse. I think it's oak slats.
So they press up against the side and then they...
What we do, this is our crusher, and this right here fits in there, and that takes the stems out. So when you put the whole cluster in there, the stems will shoot out this way, and then it will pulp, which will fall through this, get caught into a little auger down there, and take it through, and then we pump it from here into the press, and then it just fills up around here, and this will hold about maybe 800 pounds of pulp around here. And we close it up and attach a water hose to it, just slowly expand that with water. And yeah, so this is a bladder.
Oh,
It's called a
this is
bladder
right.
type.
I
Yeah.
see.
And that'll,
It pushes it out.
yeah, and we'll get it'll get big as, you know, just huge, and it'll do a real nice press. It also does a nice gentle press. It doesn't break skins or seeds to cause bitterness in that one. So from that, then we'll get about 70, 80 gallons. We pump that then into our winery. We can walk around with that. But when this is done, we've got the two, because when you're done pressing, you've got a cake of seeds and skins. You got to take this apart, clean it off, and then we're doing that. We're starting this other press. So
So what do you do with the skins and things? Is there anything that you can do with
pigs
those?
won't eat them.
Pigs won't eat those either, huh?
Well,
I keep trying to figure out ways to
Get back to
recycle
industrial
this
waste.
stuff.
yeah, we don't know what. Actually, we just put them down below and
Compost piles.
compost them. And eventually, I think they're very acidic, and that's one of the reasons I think pigs don't like them. I think over about a year.
If you let them ferment, perhaps.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and they do.
They're real happy pigs.
Yeah,
I bet they do.
But anyway, I'd like
Pig
to.
paradise. I can see it
Do
now.
the deer like it?
No, I don't. You know, it doesn't bear anything to eat it. But we would like to. We'd like to use it as a fertilizer. I think eventually. Back in the day.
Put it
And I don't think I opened this door yet. So we'll have to walk around.
No, that's a
But you do all your grapes in.
This is where we do everything here. Now, with our white wines, what we do is we'll crush it off right away, and then you get that juice out right away. With the red wines, we'll crush it and then pump it inside. We have these big purple fermenters. We'll ferment it for about a week on the skins, the seeds, and everything. And twice a day, I'll go in and stir that thing up, and we'll form a cap about this heavy. When it's fermenting, all those push all the skins and seeds up. So you got to break that cap up twice a day and stir it into the wine. And after about 7 days, then we'll pump it back out here and then press it off. And the red wines get a lot of character and flavor and color from the skins and seeds. So now the white wines, you don't want to do that. You don't want to have a lot of skin contact.
Where does the alcohol come in? How do you? Aging
Everclear.
process?
Bottles and
That's the
everything.
cheap way to do it.
That's the quick way.
That's right.
This one is naturally fermented.
Yes. And what we do is, I don't know, I think my father's got a big group in there, but I don't know if he's come out yet. He was showing around the wine, but we can walk into the winery. Okay. I'll show you what we're doing there. This was everything here. Back then we couldn't, we had to. This is appropriate because this is about the same time we kicked Guy out when we started making wine. He has a long history of making salad dressing, vinegar, so we don't want to. Anyway, this is where we do winemaking. Once, and Guy told you a little bit about the pressing out there. We take that juice then in here, and we contend with the fruit flies for about another 3 to 4 weeks, and then they'll be gone. But they love fermenting wine, so they come out about the same time we start making our wine. But anyway, once we bring the juice in here, then we settle it out for about 48 hours. We like the temperature to be, would have been ideal to be underground. That's the way we would like to do it, but we didn't. So we keep it about 68 degrees in here. And the only thing we make in here primarily are red wines. The temperature is not as big a deal for them. For our white wines and our blush wines, we keep in our cooler behind you. And that's basically, we've got about 14 300-gallon tanks in there. And it's kept about 50 degrees. Take a look. And yes.
Yeah, even cooler.
Yeah, we've got some wines fermenting pretty heavily in there. You get a lot of CO2, which is a product of the fermentation. I want to talk about the slow fermentation. But that, then, with that slow, with that temperature down like that, and the kind of yeast, we do use a cultured yeast here. We get our own starters. The grapes have wild yeast on them, and that's fine. Chances are they're fine. It would make a good wine, but we'd like to have a little more control over how much alcohol will be fermented, how fast it ferments, and there are some flavor components to yeast. So we'd like to know if we want to make a nice fruity, light style, low alcohol wine. We don't want to use a yeast that's going to ferment out all the residual sweetness. So We do use cultured yeast, and with the cooler in there, then that'll slow, and that fermentation in there will last anywhere from 3 to 8 weeks with the wines. Some wines will finish out faster, and others will ferment for 2 months.
What's your temperature?
50 degrees. Now there's also a period of time when we'll bring it down. We cold stabilize our whites and our blush, and that means in that cooler then we'll bring it down to about 26 degrees for about 3 to 4 weeks. And what that does is that takes out potassium bitartrate crystals, which are, if you ever put a bottle of wine in your fridge, or white wine, and you get some little formations on the bottom of it, nothing wrong with that. But those are tartrate crystals, which you'd like to be able to get out before you put it in the bottle. And what the cold temperature does is precipitate those out. And that's why if you haven't got them out good, you stick them in the fridge, you'll get them out in your bottle. It's not a bad, again, that's not a sign of a bad wine at all. Many red wines have it, and that's maybe even a sign of somebody not processing the wines beyond necessary, what is necessary. And we do try to minimize our processing here, particularly with the red wines. We don't cold stabilize them. We do a real light filter. They tend to be a little more stable than white wines or blush wines. You don't have to be quite as careful with the red wines. They can handle a little more oxygen, a little more warmer temperatures. But white wines tend to be more delicate, and you have to be a little more careful with them. But it'll take, with our whites and blushes, we should be able to have those ready for bottling by January or February. So it's about a 4 to 5 month period from harvest to bottling for those. They don't need bottle aging like red wines. These red wines here are from last year, and they'll be in the oak for about a year. And then we'll bottle another couple months on these. And then our new reds, which we've got in here, we just pressed these, we just fermented and pressed these out. And those then will go right into these oak barrels after we take the last year's wines out.
That was about the early one.
Well, those are just from fermentation locks, and now these are pretty well done fermenting, so there's no pressure on that. But you want to allow for that carbon dioxide to get out of your tank. Of course, you get an explosion if you did, but you don't want air to get back inside. So that just creates like a trap on a sink or something. Just enough.
The yeast acts on the sugar
You get alcohol
and carbon dioxide.
and carbon dioxide. That's the byproduct. So. And again, when you pick up our grapes out there, if we get our sugars way high, and we want, the higher your sugars, the higher potential alcohol you have. But we don't have any real high alcohol wines here. Red wines tend to be a little higher alcohol. But we like to keep a little bit of sweetness to most of our wines. So we can control the fermentation by this cooler. We can bring it down. Once you bring it down, that fermentation pretty well stops.
What is your alcohol content?
They'll range from anywhere from probably 9% up to about a little over 12%. Again, in California, they can get sugars. They can get natural grape sugars up to 35, 38%. We can't go beyond usually 23, 24%. So they can get very high alcohol wines and also very, very sweet wines from that. So, but then we just, when these are ready to be bottled, we put them in our bottling tank. We set up our bottling line. We'll hire about 4 to 5 people during bottling, and we can, if we have 4,000 gallons, we can pretty well bottle everything and have most everything besides red wines bottled by the end of February, and then they're ready to be released sometime in April usually. And again, the red wines are about hand bottled. Everything's done by hand, yeah, hand cork, hand label, hand everything. So, and we can do about 1,500 bottles in a day. Completely labeled and everything for it. And then send it over there, and hopefully we sell it. But we sell about 90% of our wine through the winery here, and another 10% out in liquor stores, retail stores, restaurants. Anyway, that's about it. Are there any questions or anything?
Does any of the wine have effervescence?
No, we haven't tried a sparkling wine yet. Maybe someday we will. Now there will be some effervescence in a wine that's a little younger, and particularly if you have some temperature fluctuations, you get warmer. You might get a little bubbly on a freshly opened bottle, but not intentional effervescence. Anyway.
Tell them how you have to be before particularly the red wine comes in evaporation.
Oh, well, on these you have to They do get a lot of evaporation. You have to top them up, and there's some small batch in these tanks here, these smaller glass jars we use for topping these barrels up. And about every 2 weeks, we'll go through and there's some loss. And you want to minimize air space in your wine. And although red wines can handle a little more oxygen than whites, and in fact, a little bit of oxygen is good, and that's why the oak aging is good. You get slow absorption of air through the barrels, and it helps to soften and age. And I don't think they fully understand why that happens. But you also get some oak oils from the oak barrels, which we think improves the flavor on the red wines.
Can you use those over?
4 years is about what we'll use them for. We rotate in about 25% new oak every year, and then we'll rotate out about 25%. So we have about 4 year.
So you don't have any gas trap on the barrels?
Well, these are done. These have been done for quite a while. Yeah, we're not worried about these. If we suspect some more fermentation, then we keep that lock on so that you wouldn't get any pressure buildup. These are probably these will be ready to be bottled in another month to 2 months, probably. So they're close to being ready. So.
How many gallons?
There's 59. Yeah, 59 gallons. We've got about 800 gallons, I think, roughly of red wines there, and about another 2,800 of white and blush wines. So, and our reds tend to be very dry and more full-bodied. We don't make although we are experimenting with a sweet red this year. We haven't made a sweet red wine yet. Anyway. Any other questions? Or?
Incidentally, we're picking Saturday and Sunday.
Wine making go back in your family a long way.
Well, my father.
In Italy.
Or get back to Des Moines.
Hey, Paul, where are you? There you are.
Now, Lucy had company when she was here. She's going to get out and help us.
I know you. Okay, now here is it.
You know, Jim is full of, he's one of the most lovable guys I know. Thank God.
You better
What
roll
am I
those up.
supposed
You
to
better
do
roll
now?
those
You're
up.
going to show us how to. Hey, roll your leg up a little bit more. I want to see you really.
Show you
push.
how.
Yeah, I want to show you. We want to know how to do this.
Okay, I try not to get too technical.
Yeah, tell us all the details. Boy.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to flat do the feature.
They are ugly.
They are. You know, they're real ugly.
You're as old as I am.
Well, you know what?
Do that like we
After this much wine, nobody knows.
Okay, now we've got to give him the music. That's one thing he said he has to do. What do you do? Come on. Come on, you have to help him along. Come on. Help him out. Get your dog there to help him. Hey, come on, let's go now.
Jim, you're going to drink this after
I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Hey, come on. Let's get those. Put maybe a little bit more there, guy. Come on. And I'm gonna get
Oh, I love it.
yeah. Hey, that looks good. Get you real close. How that squirt. Hey, you see the juice coming out of there? Man.
Him or the grape?
That's great. Hey.
Until he got spread. And we did do this for a while. But I don't remember singing any songs or anything to music.
That's good, Brad.
Now,
If that doesn't look like vomit, what else?
okay, now, Kay, who do you have that go follow him?
I think Becky probably
No.
should. Johnny.
Don't buy any white wine next week.
Now, the wine that's in there already, he didn't do that to this.
We honestly have a press. Very clean. Everything else.
I think
Nothing
we need
like
to see
these.
Jim Proud.
I get my
Roll them up. I know.
Come on, Jim.
Slip on in there.
Well, I'm glad you did because we'd like to have a ceremonial song around here.
Yeah. Hey, guy. Get some work. Go and get in there, get it.
Take your shoes off, Jim.
No, I can't because I get my pants dirty. I just
Roll
bought these
them
pants.
up.
I just rolled them up.
They
Well, how about you?
Jim?
No,
Hey, Jim,
I
I'll
shoot
clean
her
them.
backwards there and I slide it down.
Okay to have
No way. No way.
Jim, I remember you telling me, or were you bragging that day,
What's
that you
that?
could do some real stomping, unlike what us Italians can
Yeah,
do.
but that was for a different purpose.
Jim.
Jim, you gonna do it? You're gonna do it or you're gonna check it out?
What? Hey, Kathy, she's the president of the ambassadors.
I was thinking it was possible.
I bet you can see that cross pretty well.
Yeah, that's I looked for it almost me.
You know, really? Because it's zoomed in. Did you get everything you needed in Sam's the other day, by the way?
No.
I forgot two things after I saw you.